Donald Trump's brain is made of pudding, and it's only getting worse every day. And that is a fact that the mainstream media can no longer ignore as much as they try, because Donald Trump seems like he's trying to get them to talk about it. He's slurring all his words. He can't walk in a straight line. He can't remember anything. And so the media has to pay attention to the very obvious cognitive decline. And the worst example for Trump yet of forcing the media to pay attention happened on the Fox propaganda outlet that was forced to show Donald Trump's very clear cognitive decline as the host panicked. But before we get into that, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the moment that Donald Trump's brain completely broke while he was talking about one of the wars that he claims he's ended, I want to start with one he doesn't even seem to be paying attention right now, and that is the escalating conflict in Poland because of Russia. Trump continues to demonstrate on the world stage just how pathetic that he is. Donald Trump is a sad little man whose daddy never hugged him enough, whose mommy didn't pay attention, and now he's making it all of our problems. Donald Trump shows us every single day that he is willing to bend the knee to world leaders. He's more concerned with which of his buddies, or his perceived buddies, because he thinks they're his friends, but they're simply playing him because he's such a moron. But he's worried about if they're hanging out with him or not, what they're saying behind his back. He doesn't care about how America is perceived on the world stage. He wants to know what he can get out of his perception on the world stage, and largely that's his crypto grift, because he doesn't care about sovereign nations. Donald Trump himself is a war criminal. Why would he care about the war crimes of the dictators that he looks up to? He wouldn't, which is why Donald Trump can't even seem to remember the wars that he claims he's stopped or solved. And that is exactly what we saw on Fox, a brain-broken Donald Trump forgetting it all and making the host very uncomfortable. Trump, 79, can't remember which country's war he solved. President Donald Trump appeared slightly confused in a Friday morning interview with Fox and Friends, the same appearance where he announced that the person responsible for killing Charlie Kirk had been apprehended. Taking time to boast about the peace deals he's been making, Trump told the show's host, "So I solved, as you know, 7 wars. 7. I did so many."
I solved wars that was unsolvable. Azerbaijan and Albania. It was going on for many, many years. I had the prime ministers and presidents in my office. They sat so far apart. One chair was there, one chair was there. I said, "Fellas, get together, come on." He said, "I've been fighting." The one said, both great guys, they said, "I've been fighting for 22 years. I've been killing his people for 22 years. He's been in there for 22 years. The other one's in there for 7 years. He said, "For 7 years, I've been killing their people." I say, let's hug and make up. And anyway, we solved the problem.
Albania, a Balkan country some 1,430 miles from Azerbaijan, has never been at war with the country. Trump did, however, broker a peace deal between Azerbaijan and its neighbor Armenia in July after hosting the president of Azerbaijan and the prime minister of Armenia at a peace summit at the White House, bringing an end to decades of fighting between the two countries. Announcing the peace deal, Trump said at the time, "Now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. You two are going to have a great relationship. And if you don't, call me and I'll straighten it out." Saying that you need more credit for all the wars you've solved, as Donald Trump often does, although he hasn't solved any wars, and he also hasn't solved the one war he said would be done within 24 hours, and then going on to forget about which fake wars you solved, is some pretty top-tier Trump behavior. But this has been his kind of position as of late. We know Donald Trump is always posturing for strength. He's always trying to play the tough guy act, and it rarely works for him. But as of late, I think it is important to note how much Donald Trump has been focused and talking about his own mortality, how much Donald Trump cares about how he is perceived in the long run. Now, I still believe that Donald Trump wants to run for a third term, that he will hold on to, he will cling to power with bruises all over his hands and fingers as long as he possibly can as his brain deteriorates. But at the same time, he's clearly thinking a lot about his legacy lately. And it's funny, with all of that in mind, Trump thinking about getting into heaven, Trump thinking about his own mortality, that he couldn't give a singular shit about Charlie Kirk. When asked about the death of his supposed friend, he said, "I feel great. Have you seen the progress on the ballroom? We're so excited about the ballroom." And I know we're a few days removed at this point from the story, but I just can't stand anyone who capitulated to this fake demand of condemnation from the right, only for them to continue to run with a narrative pushed by Nancy Mace and so many of these other illegitimate actors, that this is something the left has to own when it was one of their own guys. This kid said he hated Charlie Kirk because he wasn't conservative enough. He dressed up riding Donald Trump for his Halloween costume a few days ago. His entire family was MAGA. He grew up around guns. What part of that do we have to own? We have to own the gun shows? I don't think so. Last time I checked, Donald Trump wasn't the leader of our party because we're not in a cult. What do we own out of any of this? What if this is our fault? Is it the rhetoric? The rhetoric when Donald Trump says, "Oh, they call me a Nazi." That was J.D. Vance. "Oh, they call me a fascist." The right is now claiming that the word fascist is a slur. You see Nancy Mace, the idiot that she is, the tension whore, screaming tranny, tranny, tranny. She's such a piece of shit. I'm sorry that I'm just like the language that I'm using, but fuck her. I don't care. Nancy Mace is a disgusting person. And she's saying fascist is a slur? No, fascist is what you call a fascist. And that is what Donald Trump is. But if you really want to talk about political violence and the type of rhetoric that causes it, look no further than the Fox propaganda outlet.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
Me on Instagram or Twitter or reaches out via Substack. I'm always looking, and I really appreciate that. Even if you just mention me on Twitter, I'll likely see it, and I want to respond as much as possible. This is a community, and I always appreciate y'all bringing clips to me. But this clip is disgusting. Brian Kilmeade is a sick, vile animal for saying that he thinks we should be carrying out lethal injections against the homeless. But this is something that we have to understand, baked into the politics of the right. They view the world through subtraction. They think if they can just take away and take away and take away, they'll fix. They don't see the underlying systemic issues within our country, right? It always invokes to me, you know, the third graders who are, you know, learning about density for the first time, and their teacher's got a pumpkin, and she says, "All right, class, heavy pumpkin, is this going to sink or is it going to float?" And of course, if you're a child, your first inclination with little understanding of mass, right, and density is to say, okay, well, it's heavy, so it's got to sink. But we understand what density is, and so the pumpkin floats. And if you don't understand what underlies the world that you observe, you just think it's wrong. You misinterpret. You can't correctly assume or understand or solve. And Brian Kilmeade, this disgusting sentiment, represents how the right views the world, is a politics of subtraction to fix our problems. Removing homeless people out of D.C. does not end homelessness. Addressing the problems that cause homelessness does, but they are not interested in that. Politics of subtraction, when you take people out of the world and you think you'll eventually get to some breaking point when you've removed all the bad, shows an idiocy and a lack of attention to detail or real care about solving issues that is very clear on the right. If Donald Trump wanted to keep people safe, he wouldn't throw the National Guard at a problem. He would pass common sense gun violence reform. He would stop the sale of these weapons of war, but he doesn't. They want to subtract, they want to take away, and they want to hurt. And it's gross. That rhetoric is the rhetoric that inspires political violence. So spare me, MAGA world, if I am not going to take part in your phony condemnation of something that we work to stop every day. Point blank. Not going to do it. And we're going to keep calling it out on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep fighting. Don't be silenced. And until next time, I'll see you soon.